Everyday Boss Bells is brought to you by Just Create JA, LH Multimedia, Jamaica Observer, Catherine Speak Spring Water, Adam and Eve Day Spa and Salon, Reasons and Seasons Decor, CPJ's Yellowtail Bubbles Sparkling Wine, New Levels Decor, the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, Carissa Zoe Makeup Artistry, and Cali Danny Designs. Welcome to episode 2 of Everyday Boss Bells. I'm your girl, Micheline, the PR Bell, and today I am joined by Sandrina Davis, the country manager for International Samaritan Jamaica. International Samaritan Jamaica is a non-profit organization dedicated to raising the standard of living for persons living in garbage dump communities. Welcome, Sandrina. How are you?
Hi, Micheline. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited.
That's great. Tell me firstly, what is a garbage dump community?
A garbage dump community, well, would be one where persons who are not supposed to be living in a particular area. Let's start over and say that the garbage dump is not supposed to be a residential site. Let's start there. And so, for varied reasons, people would start to build their own small settlements around it, and before you know it, it becomes a place where hundreds or thousands of people are, and as such, it is now a community.
Give me an example of garbage dump communities in Jamaica, and how many are there?
Well, I will start by saying there are 8 garbage dump sites across Jamaica, and 3 of them we have where persons are actually settling around or very close to the dump. That's in Kingston, Riverton, where most of our work is being done now. Also, there is that kind of similar situation in St. Anne and St. James.
Okay, well, that's good information for our listeners and viewers to know. Tell me what it is that you do as the country manager at International Samaritan.
Well, if I may, I want to just paint a picture for the organization itself.
Okay.
Our mandate is to work hand in hand with persons living in and around garbage dump communities with a view to help them break out of poverty. My job here in Jamaica, and we're just about a year or so old, was really to survey the communities as well as to see what were the immediate needs of the community. And so I've been able to spend a lot of time in the community of Riverton talking with the families, talking with persons who work in and around, talking with various stakeholders to see what the needs were. Now that we have the needs, which are education, proper housing, clean and safe water, and just access to opportunities that regular Jamaicans would have, my job is to advocate, find the funding, find the proper resources to get those things for the community members, those who would want to really make a change in their lives.
Okay, so you are a part of this non-profit organization. How did you get involved in non-profit work?
I love telling this story. I am from not a garbage dump community, but a very low-income community, big up Franklin Town. And in Franklin Town, just as a little girl growing up in a large family, I have 7 brothers and 1 twin sister. She's gorgeous, by the way.
Of course, you are too.
So our parents did not have a lot of things, so we struggled. We were without a lot of stuff, but as early as I could remember, there were always people helping. My primary school life was with support of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. When I got to high school, my church was paying fees, my friends were buying me lunch. So I've always been a recipient of charity. I probably made a vow to myself maybe at age 15 to say, whenever I was in a position to help others in the same way or greater than I was helped, then I would definitely jump on it. I'll be honest, I didn't know that this would be the path that my life would take. I had dreams of becoming a lawyer, and then I wanted to be this really bad, events planner or marketer, but I think I still do a little bit of that,
Okay, that's nice. I was about to go into that and say, what was your childhood aspiration in terms of what it is that you wanted to do before you landed here?
Yes, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I think everybody around me would have told me that that could happen because I talk enough. That was the reason. Nobody said I had to study, And so when I was about 5, my mom and I were walking downtown and I saw the courthouse, and I pointed to the courthouse. I said, I'm going to work there one day.
Well,
but
it's never too late, though.
no, no, no.
Never too late.
God rest her soul. With her limited knowledge of law, she was like, well, she gave me one box. This, everybody gonna hear this, right? She gave me one box, and she said, I can't work so hard for you to defend criminals, because you know people would have associated lawyers with defending criminals.
Oh,
and she was not amused by that career choice.
That's interesting. A lot
know.
of persons want their children to be lawyers, being the noble profession and all.
Yeah, so with the knowledge she had, she just didn't think it was a great fit. Kind of put me in limbo, but it was a good box. It put me on the right path.
Okay, that's good, because you're doing an excellent job, if I may say so
Thank
myself.
you so much.
But tell us, what are some of the other nonprofit organizations that you've worked for, and tell me what's one standout project or initiative that you've worked on.
Well, I never started out my employment years in the nonprofit sector, because, you know, when you get to a certain age, you need to get to work. Let's put it that way. So I started out just working. And in 2007, I had the joy of going to the Jamaica Cancer Society's Relay for Life. And I thought to myself, what a boring event. There are no young people here. And so the next year, 2008, I formed a group called the Cancer Conscious Youth. And we've been supporting and fundraising and just supporting the events of the Cancer Society from that point. But in 2012 was when I actually started working with a nonprofit. I spent a couple of years at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. And just as an admin at the time, but just watching them trying to help people to make healthier choices, just educating the nation about the risk factors for heart disease, and how passionate the management team was, and just the medical team, how they took every patient as their family member, as it were. You know, I would listen to doctors counseling people about making sure that they don't have diabetes, and it really, you know, just lit a fire inside me, as it were. I just started getting involved in the things that were not job description related, and was just doing as much as I could. As a Christian, the church really is it's like an act of service, and that also helps you to love people as Christ loved the church, as it were. And so all of those things together, I just love people. Yeah, that is the truth.
It shows your work is involving people. But tell me about the initiative that really struck for you throughout your journey.
If somebody asked me that question a year ago, I would have talked about this awesome performing arts camp that we had when I was at St. Patrick's Foundation as general manager. We had about 80 children for 6 weeks from the community of Seaview Gardens, and we exposed them to playing music, dance, drama. And listen, I mean, the first 2 days with all the noise, I was like, why are we doing this? But by week 4, when I heard kids singing on key and, you know, playing different instruments that I still can't pronounce some of the words, glockenspiel or whatever, it just made me, I want to describe the feeling, maybe similar to the best chocolate cake I've ever had. But like that kind of feeling, I don't think money can buy that feeling. And so that was one of my greater moments. But in 2020, I challenged myself, or 2019, I think, I've lost count. COVID does that to you.
Yes,
but I think it was 2019, I entered the U.S. Embassy Women's History Month Grant Pitch Competition. And one of the things I liked was I had to write a project, and I really wrote a project that was on my heart. As we were meeting women all over the years, we realized that, you know, they were not as empowered as I would have wanted them to be. And so I wrote a project called My Body, My Responsibility. And really the focus was to give women in inner city communities the choices that were available to them for their physical health, their reproductive health, most of all, you know, and just kind of giving them a nice sense of self, so they feel like, you know, they're valuable and they're worth it. And so I spent 6 months, I had to pitch for the project, and I was one of 5 recipients of the US 20,000, and I spent 6 months with 50 women from Seaview Gardens, and we did a lot of things together. There were empowerment sessions, vision planning, financial talks. We exposed them to as many contraceptive options as we could have, and just a lot of time pouring into them and reminding them that they're more than what their today is, you know, and that tomorrow can be so much different if they believe in themselves and focus on the things that matter. I think that changed my life and made me even more determined to impact, you know, lives every single day. Too passionate, you know.
Yes,
I get caught up in
passion,
everything that I'm doing, and I just love it. I do. Some days are hard, let me be honest, and some days I go home and I want to turn off the work clock, but everybody's on my heart and my mind, and I call my friends and beg and grumble and complain and say, we have to help, we have to do this, and we have to do that, but I really do enjoy what I do.
Okay, great. How would you encourage persons that want to get into nonprofits? Like, what are the various avenues?
I think we all should try to volunteer. It is a great door to one, see what is out there, what areas need your help, what it is that you can do. But more than that, I think everybody can just start small. You know, in our society today, it's so hard to determine who really needs help. I used to give at the stoplight a lot more than I do now, because you're realizing that, you know, some people have, you know, just bad intentions, or some people are not genuine. But I have learned that once you plant your seed, you've done your part. And so I'd encourage persons to just, if you can help somebody, help them. Don't be too concerned with what happens after. Because sometimes we're like, if I give this person my money, they're going to do this or they're going to do that. But we really don't have any control over that. But what if I chose not to give and that person was someone who really needed it? You know what I mean?
Solid advice.
Exactly.
Because I know a lot of persons, as you say, if they're giving, they're almost questioning what will happen to what they give. But they, as you say, sow the seed, and then whatever happens, happens. What's your advice to persons in the sector that may be struggling? Because one of the quotes that I thought about when I thought about you was person saying, if you do something you love, then you never have to work a day in your life. What's your take on that? Because technically it is work, and it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. I think it is even more work than some of the traditional job functions. But what makes the difference is if you know in your heart that you are rightly placed, then it doesn't matter how difficult it becomes. You're going to always find the energy to push through. So, and yes, you would want to be working and helping lives and paying your bills. That's also very important. Let's make no mistake about it. When I was looking at nonprofits as I was growing up, a little old now, I used to say that I believe that charity work was for those who've already made their millions and then had the extra to do the work. That's what I told myself. But there, you come to a point where you can't divorce passion from purpose. So I'd say to anybody who is listening, if you wake up every day and you're thinking about the babies of our nation, if you wake up every day and you're thinking about the women who are being abused, if you wake up every day and you think about the boys that are marginalized and not realizing that they can be kings, then you need to find your way to one person. It doesn't have to start with an organization, just one person. And if all 2.6 million of us find one person to help, there's not much for there's not much for nonprofits or for, you know, the government to do. And so it really is just one life at a time. That's pretty much the formula. And those lives will add up, and they're going to be so touched that they will try to help somebody else. I'm really just doing what was done for me. So all those people that helped me, that's what they did for me, and I just want to pass that on to others.
Would you say that's what keeps you inspired and motivated to work in nonprofits?
Definitely, but also just the fact that the hope that somebody can turn around, because you don't get to save everybody. Change is a partnership. You know, if you go into a child's life, if buy-in is not from the parents or the other persons that they encounter, you may not get overall success. So, but there are those moments where you really find somebody who wanted change and they go all the way. Let's use a teacher, for example, who is going home on the bus, working so hard, does not buy a car because he can't afford it, but passing them in traffic is a student that they taught. That's now in a SUV. I don't think the teacher is bad mind. She's very happy because she was able to plant a seed that grew to that. And so it's the same thing, you know, just the fact that some of the lives that we will meet every day are going to be greater than we've ever been. That is what gives me all the fire that I need.
Awesome. So tell me, what do you think are some of the personality traits, or what are the must-haves for a boss belle in nonprofits?
A boss belle in nonprofit must be able to inspire. and also kind of paint a picture for persons of the future. I'm looking at the word dream behind you. If we ever lose our ability to dream, then we're in problems. I spend a lot of time with children in Riverton now, and listen to me. Just the days saying, I repeated 15 times this week to a little girl that she's a bright girl. That's not something that she would hear every day. So a boss bell has to inspire. And by the end of the day, she just kept saying, Auntie Sandrina, I'm a bright girl. I'm a bright girl. Nice. And I was like, yes, you are. So a boss bell has to inspire. A boss bell must have influence because there's so many other negative things around us. So that positive light has to come through. You know, it could just be filling an immediate need, but just to show the other side of the situation. As humans, we're tempted to see the glass half empty. I've done that for a lot of my life.
That's true.
But the boss bell must show the half full side, you know? And
bring it up to 3/4.
Exactly. and the boss bell has to advocate. There's so many voiceless persons. They don't know how to say what's bothering them. They don't know how to ask for help. But boss bell has to advocate, be the voice for the voiceless. And the boss bell must know how to beg because it takes cash to care. So, or ask nicely for sponsorship. We can use it many terms that we like, but it's going to be critical because no matter what we want to do, if we can't afford to do it, it will never get done.
So I want to talk to you more about your childhood, like just growing up, what that experience was like. You spoke a bit about it earlier, but tell me, you mean your childhood in terms of high school, what really drove home, if you're supposed to look back on yourself, like what advice would you give to your younger self, knowing what you know today?
I will start by saying a lot of the things that come to mind when I think about just how I grew up was 5 a.m. every morning, standing under the light post on Cambridge Street, where my mom would plait my sister and I are here. We got 5 do the plaits every morning. On Fridays we get our hair catch up in a one because little girl must look like little girl. That's what she said. But my brothers would be walking across the street to catch water because as we grew up we didn't have running water at the time. The other thing that stood out was my mom did like cooking work or, you know, domestic work. But every time when she came home and she was expressing her tiredness, she would pull me and my sister aside and she would say, you don't want this to happen to you, you better take your book. I think I heard the term take your book maybe millions in my lifetime. But what I saw was a woman explaining to us that we didn't have to have the same path that she had. And so she reiterated that like I took it to heart. So the kids that play and sweat and go home dirty was not a part of my childhood. I never played as a child as in a corner reading a book because my mother told me that education was the way out. Which is one of the reasons why even now, you know, for work, we have 75 scholarship students in Riverton. I still believe that education is the way out. And so she would tell us that, and so I was focusing on that, and I was extra as BELLES Club president and head girl and prefect and a debating champion. And the more I did well was the more people said, oh, we'll pay for lunch, we'll pay for school, we'll buy uniforms. It's like, they're on something there. And so I tried to always, you know, do my best as I was growing up. I didn't give a lot of trouble, I just talked enough. And well, here I am talking again. So thankfully no one silenced the voice. But if I had to go back to just the beginning, we were always encouraged to do better. And I think that's one of the things that I've carried with me in adult. I'm never satisfied. Some people will, you know, reach a certain level and think, yep, I'm good, this is it. No, for me, it's what's next, what else can be done, what more can I give, who else can I, you know, assist. And I think that came from upbringing. This has no relation to the interview. Michelin, better eat fast because if you didn't eat fast, my brothers would thief the chicken. And so to this day, I still eat fast. It's not cute when you go out in other spaces, but just trying to save my chicken.
That's funny, Sandrina. You spoke about what's next. What's next for Sandrina?
I've been working a lot on developing myself on a wholesome basis so that I can really help others on a grander scale. So we know what the work is to be done in the communities, what the projects are. I've also been doing theological studies because, as we've learned, some of the problems are not just lack of food, clothing, and shelter. Some people will need, to talk to somebody about their issues, get some sort of counseling. Some persons will need somebody to pray with them and, just know how to listen. And so I've just been trying to expand so that I can do more for the different parts of the persons that need it. I've also been putting my eyes on what kind of internship or fellowship opportunities are available overseas. I've applied for a couple. Pray for me.
Yes,
and definitely,
you will get you
definitely just being able. I was almost going to be at the UN State of the Women Conference in March. In fact, I was in New York when all the craziness started to happen and I had to rush back home. And I thought that was going to be my footing. But I believe that I'll still be able to, have my foot in the UN door one of these days.
I'm sure you will. You will be there. But speaking of 2020, how has the year been for you? It's been a challenging year. The global health pandemic has kind of shifted a lot of persons off their feet. But how are you? How have you been handling it? And how has it affected your job and your role?
If this was the year of surprises, and I would say just personally, I had struggles, especially with the fact that plans were changing so rapidly. I'm very structured. I like to know what's going to happen tomorrow, what time, and all of that. And there were a lot of things, especially for work, that we would have planned that we had to just be changing. A part of what we do in Riverton is we open up for service immersions. So we allow high school and college students from the US to actually come, interact with some of our children, help to do house building and those things. And we had to cut every trip at March. And so that was that really affected me, because I know that sometimes when our kids see what else is out there, then it helps with their dreams. What we did though is we started doing some Zoom cultural exchanges, so they still get to talk and so on, just to see. And because we weren't doing that aspect, we were able to actually increase our scholarship students because we could redirect the funding for that. So started with 50 scholarship students. We have 75 across schools, so from early childhood all the way up to tertiary and vocational. And I'm proud to say that we call it the step-by-step scholarship program for the very reason that we go step by step. We cover tuition, we cover uniform, we cover books, we cover lunch and transportation. Awesome. Since COVID, we've been giving all our scholarship families groceries every single month. Obviously, not without the support of all our donors, but that's kind of what we've been doing. And I know in the public space, there's a lot of talk of partnership during this time. And so, the church in the community has recently opened up their doors to allow free Wi-Fi. And so the kids who don't have Wi-Fi at home or the devices that they need, they've been able to meet us on a daily basis, and we help them with their schoolwork.
That's awesome.
And just kind of get them on track. As a parent, which I am, it has been a challenge. I have a son, and he just started high school. It's not how we would have pictured, starting high school. I was ready to do the drop off, try to squeeze in a case, and things like that. That's not what has happened. And it was a little rocky at first, but we're getting there. Just personally for me, it's very hard. And I can just imagine for other parents who have to work, which means they can't stay with their child every day to, as it were, oversee the learning process. So you are a little concerned or a little worried. But 2020 has taught us to kind of jump hurdles. And so
be agile and adaptable and all
exactly.
These, and pivot.
No, it's the buzzword.
It's the buzzword for 2020. But how has he been handling the new back to school experience?
The truth is, he has techie parents, so he has no issues with navigating technology. But he also has a massive love for games and YouTube videos and so on. So my concern has always been, is he in class or has he gone to do something else? We fix that. I have a parental control software, so yes, he's at home, I'm at work, but I know what he's doing. And that kind of gives me a little bit more peace, if I want to call it that. Now, like the other day when all the networks went down, I don't know if it happened for you guys, but I live in St. Catherine, so I had no internet, no cable, no nothing. and my cell phone service was also not working. And so as I was on my way home, I couldn't get a vibe as to where he was, or I couldn't call him either.
Wow.
He wasn't alone, but I couldn't reach anybody. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking for me. That moment, I was thinking, I wonder if I could be a stay-at-home mom. But then absolutely not. The next day I was back in Riverton doing what I love to do, and all is well with the world.
Okay, great. You spoke about your mom earlier. What are some of the things that she left with you that still resonates today? I know before we spoke, you told me that she's no longer with us, but what it is that she instilled in you that you still carry today?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. If people think I'm awesome, then if they met my mom, that would be a whole different story. So I kind of mean two bits about, the fact that I'm here and she's not, because then everybody would choose her. But she was the picture of strength, a very strong woman. And it took a lot for us to know if something was breaking her. That's one of the things that I think I would have carried from her. You have to be really close to detect a sign of weakness. For those who are watching, that's not necessarily the best thing. But I think every woman has to pull on their inner strength at some point in their life, whatever the circumstance. And it's a good thing to have. Don't ever let everybody know, that something is off. And so that's one of the things that I would have gotten from her. The other thing, something that she preached all the time, was make sure that your intentions are pure. She thought that made
have a clean heart.
Say it again. She thought that made a world of a difference. She always says, no matter what you're going to do, if your intentions are pure, it's gonna shine through. And I'll use the industry that I'm serving in, because I believe it's service as opposed to a job. If I was just doing the thing just because, it would show. We know who is just trying to catch a good shot, or who is just trying to get a paycheck, as opposed to those who are vested in the work that they're doing. And so that kind of advice really has helped me along this journey. And the last one, feed your enemies. I don't know what that means for those who are watching, but my mom has always said, it doesn't matter if somebody has done you wrong. If they're hungry, give them food. If they need your help them.
That's biblical.
Hallelujah. Don't go back to the pain or whatever it is that they did. And the truth is, when you're able to do that, it also shows that you're over it, that you've moved on, that you've forgiven. So similarly with a wound, if when you touch it, it hurts, you're not healed. But if you can talk about the circumstance and not be hysterically crying, or if you can talk about it and you don't feel the same kind of anger, then you know that you've healed. So those are some of the things. And if I could just share with someone, my mom died at age 59. She suffered from a stroke. When I was born, she was already diagnosed as hypertensive. And I just want to say, for a lot of women, because we're doing so much, because we're managing so much, because we're handling so much, we tend not to pay attention to, one, our health, two, the signs that our bodies are giving us. And those who love us may have to carry on without us because we ignore those things. So people need to just pay attention. Your body always tells you where it's at. It's tired, it's hungry, it's overworked. Listen to your body.
Some great advice there. What's the most important thing at this stage in your life? You spoke about health, which is very important. What is most important to you at this stage in your life?
Something that I've not mastered yet, and that's balance. I love to work. I really do get a rush out of it, so I'm fine always doing something. But as I have been growing and learning, I realize that it's okay to go slow sometimes. It's okay to have a day when you not do anything. And that's new territory for me. But even as my son is growing, and I'm like, when did you become 12, Or when did you have abs? Those kind of things just have me like, I was missing out. And so I've just been learning to kind of slow it down a little bit and do the things that create that kind of balance. We binge watch Flash on Netflix together.
Yeah, I love Flash. I'm a superhero kind of girl.
Oh, he loves it. I just think I should be doing something else. But when I've given in to him and we sit and we're doing that, oh my God,
feels good, don't it?
Yes, and he's so happy talking about multi-universes, of which I don't know.
Yes, I would get into it, but you know.
Oh, you do know?
Yeah, I do. All the DC comics and Supergirl and the whole nine. But that's for another show.
No, you can just come. We do it on Fridays, so you're welcome to join us for the Flash marathons. But I really have just been trying to learn how to create balance, and I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially in this fast-paced environment. So I've not mastered it yet. But if you have me back, I will tell them.
We will talk about balance. As we kind of wrap things up, tell me, what do you do as a boss belle? So not quite balanced, but to some self-love and to wind down from work.
Oh man, use the word wine. Responsibly, of course, but I do enjoy red wine. What really relaxes me is time with friends. I love my friends. I'll spend hours and days with them, and it just feels fresh all the time. And I love conversations, meaningful conversations. And so for me, relaxing is a drive out of town, good food. Wherever it is, I will find it. And just, there's laughter. I love music, by the way. I sing in church. And if I say, Alexa, please play, I'm good after that. It really settles me.
So every time somebody says they can sing, then you have to go, sing a little piece, a song, something. You have to do something, Sandrina. If you say you can sing, you have to sing. You have to prove that you can sing for the people.
Oh my God. I don't know if I'll do this well. I hope your production team has auto-tune. However, if I could just say that just an anthem for my life would be, that God is good. So the chorus would be, all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good, yes. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Amen. One chorus. Amen. If I could sing, I would join you, but trust me, we don't want that today at all. But that was beautiful, Sandrina. So you have my approval, and I'm sure the audience will approve as well. As we get into our closing segment, we like to celebrate our everyday boss belle success, and we're gonna make a toast to all the great things that you're doing, your passion for service and just for giving back.
Can I make a shameless plug? I want to ask everybody, take a moment and think about just somebody close to you, just down the road, next door, and start helping. Start helping. It could be a pound of flour, it could be homework, it could be a Wi-Fi password. Start helping. It's true. That's a rare commodity these days. Start helping. And if you want to do something, bigger, then reach out. I can point you in many directions. There's so many people that need help, so many people that will make good use of your resources. So that would be that's my plug. That's it.
Everyday Boss Bells, a toast segment, is brought to you by CPJ's Yellowtail Bubbles Sparkling Wine. Sandrina, thank you so very much for joining us. You are such an inspiration. Continue doing all the great work. And as we close episode 2 of Everyday Boss Bells, I just want to make a toast to the great work that you're doing.
Cheers!
Everyday Boss Bells, a toast segment, was brought to you by CPJ's Yellowtail Bubbles Sparkling Wine. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Everyday Boss Bells. I'm sure you picked up a lot of great nuggets from our Everyday Boss Belle, Sandrina Davis. Until next time, I'm your girl, Micheline the PR Belle. Everyday Boss Bells was brought to you by Just Create JA, LH Multimedia, Jamaica Observer, Catherine Speak Spring Water, Adam and Eve Day Spa and Salon, Reasons and Seasons Decor, CPJ's Yellowtail Bubbles Sparkling Wine, New Levels Decor, the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, Carissa Zoe Makeup Artistry, and Cali Danny Designs.